Well, hello and welcome back to the channel. So tomorrow is the 1st of June, amazing. And June is my month to do the church flowers in our village. So I thought you might like to come for a walk with me around the garden. We'll cut some long-lasting, sturdy, hardy types because I'm not doing the church flowers every day. And we'll go and have a look at the church and we'll see what we can do. There is a great movement for making church flowers much more natural. Over the years, it is understandable that church flower committees have got used to using a lot of floral foam and very long-lasting types of flowers rammed into floral foam, which is often filthy dirty because it's sort of taped onto some pedestal arrangement, very hard to work with, and you just have to kind of put more and more material in it. So it's full of bacteria, but also the floral foam itself is incredibly bad for the environment. So, because it shreds into microplastics and goes straight into the water. And I have been guilty of using as much floral foam in my time as anybody. So I have been there with the floral foam, but I cannot carry on my eco business and use a lot of floral foam. I just can't. So I've got used to not using floral foam. I've got some good ideas for doing church flowers without floral foam, and I hope I will inspire you. Let's go and have a look at the church first, and then I'll show you what I plan to do. And if you're new to the channel, you're very welcome. Please do subscribe, press the bell icon, and we'll tell you when we've got more clips coming up. And if any of the tips and tricks I give you along the way are useful, you can always buy me a coffee, or better still, join my club. And the links to coffee buying and club membership are in the blurb to all my clips. So here is our little village church of St. Stephen's, Charlton Musgrove. It's very, very old. It's 800 years old. Well, not all of it. Some of it is 800 years old. The chancel there, that's the oldest part. And then the middle bit is middling part. It's only 16th century, I think. And then the tower, which I'll show you, is the youngest part. And if you're in America and you are called Haskell, or you know anyone whose name is Haskell, you are descended from, or know someone who's descended from, a pair of brothers who were called Haskell, who walked out of this very porch and sailed to America in the mid 1600s. And there's a family organisation, a Haskell family organisation, and they still are involved in this church, and they send financial support when we need it. When we did the roof the other day, they helped out with replacing the roof. Not this roof, this is just the porch. I love this church. Look. On leaving, please close the church door and the churchyard gate and go forth into the world in peace. Be of good courage, hold fast that which is good, render to no man evil for evil, strengthen the faint-hearted, support the weak, help the afflicted, honour all men and women. Love and serve the Lord, rejoicing in the power of the Holy Spirit. And may the blessing of God be upon you and remain with you forever. Isn't that just lovely? Anyway, in we go. It's lovely and cool in here. And when we raised money the other year, look, there's room for the children. We raised money to mend the roof, but also to put a little kitchen in the back here. There are bells in the tower. up there. And if I turn around, there is our little church, 800 years old and counting. And above the ceiling is the new roof. Amazingly done, very beautifully done. So there we are. So my church flowers, now look, somebody's already done them. They're in one of my vases. So, but they've lasted very well, look. It's only when you look closely that you see that the water's a bit dirty and actually the flowers are feeling their age a bit. So let's take these home and put them in the compost heap and make something new for this windowsill. And so you don't have to do masses of flowers. So I think I might do something for that windowsill where those flowers are, but I might do something else, a little something, just little. And I go up to the chancel. I might do something that goes up there on the right where the cross is, up there, just so we have some flowers up by the altar. You don't want to cover the altar with flowers because obviously we have communion services often and they'll be in the way. The other place that you could do flowers here is there, in that little alcove there. So we'll see. I think probably not, but you could. The reason you put flowers that are going to last and last on the windowsill on my left is because that never gets direct sun flooding through the window. Whereas if I put them up here on the right, they would be flooded by sun all day and go over more quickly. Churches, as a rule, face east, so that's east, and therefore this side is north facing and cooler and out of direct sunlight. Right, let's go home and do some flowers. It's a wonderful old door. Imagine being one of the Haskell brothers, leaving here and walking off to sail to America all those centuries ago. So what I'm going to do is I have a selection of these vases, and anyone who knows me well knows they come from Morrison's. They're very nice, £12 each. So I'm going to use glass vases, but I'm not going to just put them on the windowsill and let the water go cloudy and manky. And if you're doing sustainable church flowers, you might think, what shall I use that, so you won't see the cloudy water. There's one other thing you could do, so you can keep the vase, but I'm going to hide the vase in a handy bucket. So you won't see it, and it'll sit very nicely on the side there. And while this is, you might say, but that's not very smart, it's not very posh. Well, it's a country church, and I think this simple galv look actually works incredibly well. But if you're in a smarter place, then you could use a smarter container. But I think this works well for me. Whatever you use, if you find a good earthenware vases are great because they're nice and heavy and they're not going to fall over. Stoneware, any kind of vase that's solid, not glass, and you will get cloudy, dirty water like you saw when I fetched the flowers earlier. This way, you'll still get cloudy, dirty water, but it won't get so cloudy so quickly because the sunlight, what light there is, light makes the water dirty. It feeds the bacteria in the water need light to live. So the less light you give them, the less quickly the water will go cloudy, and the longer the flowers will then last. So this is for the other little the other little windowsill I was going to put them on. And you'll have, the eagle-eyed amongst you will have noticed that that windowsill faces south, but it is shaded by trees at that far end of the churchyard. So it won't be too hot. And also there will be no direct sunlight through the vase because the vase is in the little galvanized tub. So these sorts of things, you can find them anywhere. I mean, just keep an eye out for them. They're brilliant. If you see a few, invest. Right, I'm also cutting enough to do number one Bruton as I go round because it's Friday. And I always do number one Bruton on a Thursday or a Friday. So come on, let's do that. So what have I got that's really, really very long lasting? Well, let's go and have a look. So here in the tunnel, it's all quite hot and steamy and looks as though I've cut a lot of ranunculus this week. But look, what else we have? Here is Honesty seed heads. These will not flop in water and they will last until they slowly dry out. So let's have some Honesty as some foliage. It amuses me to have Honesty because Honesty is sometimes called the money plant because the shape of the seed heads. And one is supposed to give a tithe of 10% of one's income to the church, or back in the day one was. And so I feel as though giving some of my Honesty in my church flowers offering is part of my 10%. Oh, I'm just talk about overcomplicating things. You see how my mind works. Now, Sweet William will last and last and last, so we'll have lots of that. And Nigella will pop, but then as it matures, these will become seed heads, which will be attractive. So we'll have these. Hello, ducks. The ducks are here to do slugging because we've had an infestation of slugs, the like of which I've never seen. So they are our slug masters. And look, they had clean water this morning. They need clean water again. And I'm going to have these auricular-eyed variety because the white edges in church, if it's a bit gloomy, you'll see the flowers. So there'll be a bit of colour, but the white edges will frame them. Right, well, I've come up here because anything that dries into a good seed head is good to last for a good long time in church flowers. So I'm here for some alliums. So you can see most of my alliums have gone, but the ones that are left, see how they dry well? They immediately turn into attractive seed heads, so we'll have some of those. For anyone who's been watching my videos recently, you'll know this time of year I'm always cutting sorrel. And sorrel is absolutely the beautiful flower of the field, which I think goes very well in a church arrangement. And again, will dry nicely. And another option is to look for things which will root in water quite happily, and mint is one of those things. And it has a lovely scent and is a nice foil because of the black edges of it. It's a very nice foil for the Sweet William. And for number one Bruton, I'm cutting some of these lovely roses, but I'm cutting them in tight bud. And they will come out over the week. The Alchemilla mollis is just coming. It lasts fantastically well in a vase. So we'll have some of that for number one Bruton. Oh, and yes, please, dry grasses. I think very good for the church. And for number one Bruton, fantastic in a vase and just popping. This will last all week. The Philadelphus. It's one of my favourite shrubs. A fortnight of joy every year. Right, that should be enough. We'll take it back to the studio. If I have to go out and get a bit more, I'll show you how and why, and we'll go and get some more. But I think that's probably enough. I'm under time. Time is of the essence. I have to take, it's half term. And child number one wants driving up, or he wants to practice his driving and go up to a village about half an hour away to see his girlfriend. And so I've got to be ready so I can drop the number one Bruton on the way. So that's number one Bruton done quickly. That only has to last a week, and there's plenty in there to come out. The Alchemilla will slowly come out. You can see the Sweet William, these are all buds, so it'll slowly come out in the warm. The roses will pop slowly. So long as roses, the calyx here is open, then they will pop. And you can see how the Philadelphus will pop. It's all poppy, pop, pop, poppity, pop, pop, with a little bit of lovely sorrel there for a bit of wild escaped into the vase kind of thing. If I get far enough to get it all in frame, then it looks very small, but actually it's, though I say it myself, it's very attractive. And the walls of number 1 Bruton are a lovely sort of soft pink. They're almost this colour. And so all of the red colours in this mix will blend with it. They complement it rather than fight with it. Even the rusty edge of the sorrel seed head seeds. Love it. Right, I'm going to film making these two for the church because they should be quite quick, and I want you to get an idea of how you too could do this. And I hope if you are already on a church flowers committee and the committee is very wedded to floral foam, I hope this will inspire you to be able to say to them, no, look, we can make something really amazing without using floral foam, and the flowers will last and they'll look fantastic. And if you're thinking about joining in with a church flowers committee, then please do suggest, and you could always send them to look at this video and it'll show them that you can make something really fantastic, no floral foam, it won't fall apart, it won't take very long to do. Personally, I think it's much simpler, much less complicated mechanics, much easier, and the flowers will last better because they're just in water, they're not in foam, which doesn't hold the same kind of reservoir of water. They can't hold as well if they're in foam as they can in just a vase of water. So I'm going to film it as I go and hope you'll enjoy it. Right, here we go. Excuse me. Right, there we are. I'm going to show them to you. So they didn't take very long. That took 15 minutes, 14 minutes and 26 seconds to make both. They're not rammed with material, and there's a reason for that. These are going on windowsills. And so half the story they're telling is a story of light, which I love because we're in a church, and God is all about light. Anyway, I'm not going to go off in a whole great big thing there, but if you leave room for the light to filter through, it will throw shadows, it will make drama. I've used the white rimmed Sweet William, so they will show up against the light. The light will hit the back of them, and then there's a white line, and then the dark middle, you'll see it despite them being in silhouette. Exciting. It's always worth looking at the light. Look at where you're going to put the flowers and work with that. Don't just think I must do luxury or do quantity or show off or, be the person who's put the most flowers in the church. That is not what it is about. Rant. If you can allow the light to do half the work for you, then that's very dramatic. You can see there's very little. I haven't used masses. 15 minutes, 2 pieces, and I'm going to put them in the back of the car, take them up to the church, and pop them in. Let's go and have a look. Well, this is interesting. Last week's flowers, a week old, been sitting in this warm, sunny room all week. I've seen worse. Who says British flowers don't last? Who says flowers need lots of chemicals to keep them alive? And there's this week's, ready to go. It's a lovely room. Right, so here we are back in the church later the same day, and I've put one of those small arrangements on the windowsill. Have to keep it out of the way because all the different ingredients for communion are also put on that windowsill during church services. So there's something that you can see, the view from down the aisle is what you're seeing now. So you'll see that, but you'll also see there a little light froth on the windowsill, and if I turn round we can go and see it more closely. But as you imagine, you come into the church and have a look round, and there it is. It's very simple, it's not especially colourful, but it's what's good about it. You remember what I said about using the light? So the structure is strong against the light. The tin bucket, which might have looked quite big in the studio, actually fills the space quite nicely. You can see how the grass looks gorgeous against the light. Everything is in silhouette when I'm up close to it, but you can see the white around the edges of the Sweet William, and the strong structure of the honesty seed heads is very good against the lime wash. And there are no lights on in here, and there in the distance is just that green mix on the windowsill next to the altar. So if you're invited to engage with doing church flowers, have a go. Say yes, it's fun. And it means that you're contributing to your community. Even if you're not a churchgoer, it's a lovely thing to do. And if there's a church flower committee in your parish and they're very wedded to floral foam, then you can always show them, I don't look very lovely in this, but the flowers look nice. I'll step out of the view. You can always direct them to this video and talk to them about sustainability, because whatever your faith, I don't think any religious organisation wants us to waste the earth's resources in order to decorate our places of worship. That's what I think. And surely one of the things about wherever we choose to worship is that part of what we're doing is celebrating the natural world that we have been given. And so let's keep it natural and not use floral foam. Very, very simple. Not crowding the space. And just reflected down there. And here again, very simple. Not crowding the space. Going beautifully with our little stained glass windows. This is St. Stephen's Church, and St. Stephen is there on the right there, and that's St. John the Evangelist, and our other church in this parish is St. John's, so we've got St. John's and St. Stephen's, and there is lovely. Isn't that a beautiful window? I don't know what date that is. It's probably Victorian, but it's extremely pretty. And with the flowers, isn't that attractive? So this church, St. Stephen's, this is the very old bit here, the chancel. This is the 800 years old bit. And then as I go down the chancel step, I'm into 16th century, and in the 1300s, when the first Great Plague hit, all the people who lived in the village, which was built around this church, died of the plague. Well, many of them did. And the people who were left picked up what little belongings they had and walked to where I live at Common Farm in Barrow Lane, which was up near Stavdale Priory. There was a priory in the village, still is, but not lived in by monks because of the dissolution of the monasteries. So this is a church that was abandoned. So all of the land around here was abandoned by the villagers. And that's why this village is very, very spread out over a large area, because during the plague, the people who survived the first run of the plague across the populace picked up their belongings and walked a mile or so to where I live. But this is still the parish church. And here we are. So there's the plague, so built 1200 years ago. You then have a plague village. Then you have the Haskell brothers walking out of the church, saying farewell to their community and heading off through this very doorway to take ship for the new world. We may be rural Somerset with very small community, but we've got some good history. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this clip, and if you're inspired to get involved with sustainable church floristry, sustainable church flowers, I hope I've demonstrated you don't need masses, and you don't have to spend hours on it, and you certainly don't need any floral foam. Anyway, from me and the Church of St. Stephen's, Charlton Musgrove, thanks very much for visiting, and I'll see you all again soon.